wishing a super warm welcome to my old friend and colleague Johan Espeland. Hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So nice to see you.
We finally get to do this interview. I've been waiting to do this because I think you're a super inspiring person. Not only have you trained and worked as a performer yourself, but now you're the artistic director for Wallmans. Is that Wallmans Europe, worldwide, Scandinavia? What is it?
That is, at the moment, it's in Scandinavia, and it's called Wallmans Group. So it's all the stages of restaurants within Wallmans Group. Yes.
Yeah, and can you explain for people who don't know what Wallmans is?
Oh, Wallmans is, well, it's changed, of course, very much through the years. It's actually celebrating 30 years, has its 30 years anniversary this summer.
Wow.
Wallmans Stockholm opened 30 years ago. So that's quite, it's a big thing. And it was created or founded by a man called Hasse Wallman.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the entertainment guru in Sweden of his time. Unfortunately, he's dead now. But he was the one who brought Fame and Cats and all of those Grease, all of those musicals to Sweden for the first time, and created a lot of famous Swedish musical stars that way. When it comes to the Wallmans, so he of course has had a lot of theaters, and he owned the China Theater in Stockholm a while, but when it comes to Wallmans, the Wallmans concept, he, I think, went to Paris or something like that. I think the story changes through the years, who depends on who's telling it. But he went into an Italian restaurant, and it was opera singers serving the food. So they served, Italian food, and then they went up on a stage and sang opera. And he thought, I like this idea. This is cool to meet the artist up front and personal. And so decided to try that in Stockholm. So, and they did these huge auditions, and that, this is predating Jesus. No, this is predating. This is almost predating internet.
Yes.
So this is before Idol and The Voice and Fame Factory and all of that. And opened then 30 years ago in Wallmans Stockholm, and it became a huge mega success. I mean, I had fully booked 3 years just in front or ahead. And that is why they also opened this other restaurant in Golden Hits also in Stockholm, because they had to say no to too many people. And at that point, when, as I said, predating all these shows on TV and internet and all of that, I mean, people were quite amazed that, they met, say, a normal girl, Lisa. She's 22 years old and cute and and having great personality and serve you food, and then she goes up on stage to sing like Celine Dion, and people could not believe their eyes, right? That we get to see talent this close, and also to speak to the talent when the person comes back, right? And that was a winning success. And then from that, the concept grew and became all over Scandinavia, and we have been in ski resorts, and we have had we've been in Malmö and Helsingborg, and it's opened and closed here and there. But now at the moment, it's in Stockholm, in Oslo, and in Copenhagen, and we have Golden Hits also in Stockholm.
Right. And I don't know, but I think that the show in Copenhagen is probably the biggest one, right? In the circus building where I visited you not a few years ago, at least.
Yeah, it differs a little bit. which, like, if I can take Golden Hits, because I think it's important to just mention that Golden Hits is a little bit more nightclubbish. Its main income is that it's Stockholm's most famous nightclub, and it never ceases to end. People just keeps on going there. All other places, like trendy places, open and close, open. Golden Hits is just this place you go to, and through that they have a little dinner show, which is more based on humor and comedy. When it comes to Wallmans in Stockholm, I think it takes like 300-400 guests, and then in Oslo 600, something around there, and Copenhagen takes around 1,000 eating guests. And what's different is that in Stockholm you have maybe one dancer, but it's mostly all-rounders and pure singers, instrumentalists, a small cast. And then in Norway, you add some more dancers, and at the moment they have 2 circus artists, so that's a little bit of a bigger cast. And then in Copenhagen, it's 18 artists, and that is also instrumentalists and circus artists and dancers and all of that. So it's the biggest stage, and then you get more different artists, basically.
Yeah. So if we rewind a little bit, you started out as a musical theater performer yourself. Didn't you also go to Balettakademien?
Yes, 91 to 94. When did you go?
Good question. Probably not too far after you. I think I graduated in 98.
I just have a feeling that I've taught you tap or something like that.
Yeah, it's
weird.
Very, very possible. I was crap at it, by the way. So,
well,
I mean, I thought it was fun, but there were some people who just like really loved it and got really into it. I wasn't crap, but it wasn't one of my favorite subjects, and I was like, this is not. I mean, compared to some of the people in my class, I was like, this is not what I'm going to be, competitive at, when I get out. So
I was quite okay at tap. The thing is, what I understood, when you get older and have worked with it for such a long time, it's that if I had understood that tap was more of an instrument, a percussion instrument, rather than thinking of it as dance, which it is, then I think I would have understood it better.
Probably.
Because that's a different way of looking at it, because a lot of people that I think we know together that are very, very good tappers still and have had a good profession, a good career tapping. Yeah, so I graduated in 94 and worked in musicals for around 7 years and did that, which is very useful. My career or the direction of what I was going to do has always pointed in working as a producer, working as a director, and doing all the creative stuff that I do. But I of course didn't understand that when I went to the Ballet Academy, because I wanted to be on stage. But I now, what I'm working with, of course, I feel like I've come home and I'm more relaxed in my role. But it was I think both you and I think we understand, since we have been on stage, then we understand all the little bits and bobs and pieces that creates a full show, and what works it takes, and how many different profession that rooms, from choreographers to lighting designers to costume designers to those who sews, and everybody, set builders, and also the producers who creates the schedules and who plans the tours, or negotiates your salaries and all of that. I mean, it's a huge machinery, and I think it's to work on stage before you then do work behind or on the side, or whatever how you choose to see it. It's important.
Yeah, and a lot of the younger artists that I talk to, I tell them to at least try to do their own projects as well, because I feel like you need to understand as a performer that you are just one tiny piece of a huge puzzle, it's not all about you. It doesn't matter if you have the lead in the show, you're still not the most important piece, because there are, you know, like putting a show together is anything from a 500 piece puzzle to a 10,000 piece puzzle, and you're one of those pieces, and you are really important no matter what you do. But you know, it's I think that's something that I didn't really grasp until I started producing my own projects.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that to be as a young performer in showbiz or beginner in showbiz, I think you need to, I don't know, I mean, this is not all people, of course. I'm taking this, everybody, just talking about everybody as they, you can't be, you need to get off your high horse, because the thing that's most important as, you know, starting in business is to do as much stage time as possible, or do as much work as possible. And you can't label, I don't want to do this, or don't want to do that. If you have the opportunity to go abroad, for example, and do, you know, 10 shows a week, or, you know, stand and sing for tourists and things like, do that, because what it's about is to get as much time and to practice, because what you practice you become good at.
Right.
And then, you know, and if you don't have a name in the business, then you don't have a product to think about. Basically, it's first when you become a name, that when people start to know who you are, and, you know, then you can start to think about, be pick and choosy about, oh, I want to do this is not good for my brand, or this is good for my brand. That's a different matter. But if you just graduated your musical theater school or whatever, you know, education you had, if you had any, then you can't afford to be picky. Then you need to do the jobs that gives you the best practice, basically.
Yeah.
And every job is a practice. And then if you think to go to, you know, to go back to, look back to what you said, and a part of that is to understand that you are just a little piece of something big. And if you don't understand that, I think if you think you're bigger than you should, then you will run into problems sooner or later.
Probably. And so what shows were you in as a performer?
Ooh. I was in La Cage aux Folles.
Was that your first job?
Yes, at the new theater in Copenhagen.
Oh, really? I worked there too, in Phantom.
And that was the most, people who knows me and work with me, I usually use that as an example. For me, I was such a rookie, even though I'd gone to Ballet Academy, and I think when we went to school, it was, I probably is now too, but it was very hard. It was tough love, or just tough. But I still didn't get it until I got the job. No. Then, you know, lots of tricks of the trade, you know, lots of don't note your fellow colleagues on stage, for example. You will get slapped.
Yep.
Because you do that in school. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. But then you get on stage and work with someone, which I did, a dear friend of mine, still dear friend, you know, who was one of, you know, Scandinavia's best dancers, amazing. And I noted him, and I got then told in a very hard way that mind my own business, you know. So, and all when it comes to taking care of costumes and all that, that was really, really hard. When I look back, I must have been kind of bratty, you know, because I didn't get it. But after I done that, after I worked at the new theater, I kind of got it more. And then I did Me and My Girl in Aarhus.
Oh, okay.
Which was also very useful. I think, you know, in every job I basically had, I think I learned so much. But the thing is not so much about, I think it's more of a mental learning rather than, of course, as I worked, I became a better performer. But all the things around how show business screwed together, and that it's not those very particular rules that you thought it would be. That, you know, to get a job and to not get a job can also have to do with that the person casting you is in a bad mood. You know,
true.
you think that they're so black and white and la 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 la, but it isn't, you know.
No.
So that was also a kind of a not such a slap in the face like La Cage was, but it was still, it was hard learning. You know, I just also again when we did La Cage, that was one of the first shows I think in Scandinavia, or at least in Denmark, that, you know, when they bring over and do original Broadway production, so the team come over and do it, that was kind of new at that time. And then it was like basically you put on your high heels and then you don't take them off, and you were told off by the American if you tried to, you know, that you didn't have a choice. And I hadn't understood that kind of work mentality when I educated myself. Of course, it was hard at the Balettakademien, but I didn't know that I would run into people that basically would say, you do this or you're out. Do you know what I mean? That was really, okay, you know, and, you know, when you lie at home with your legs in the air and you cry because, you know, your feet hurt so much. So that was, you know, things like that. So I think my journey through show business, when what I've done on stage, has more of a mental learning how this whole business works, and then of course you get better dancer and singer and all that. Well, then I did a show called High Spirits, which is a 60s musical, which is based on a Noel Coward play called Blythe Spirits. You can get the music, and it's kind of, you know, if you update it, might work still. It's a musical comedy. One of the, you know, the scripts I read that I actually peed myself laughing. I thought it was absolutely hysterical. It was so funny. We were six musical artists, 3 female and 3 male, all-rounders who likes the ensemble. This was in Norrköping, Östgötateatern.
Oh, okay.
And what was the experience there was that the director had never directed a musical in her life. As I said, she has only done like experimental lesbian plays in Russia before. That kind of, you know. And the scenographer and the costume designer had never worked in theater before. He was an internationally acclaimed furniture designer. So the theater thought that these two should go together and work in musical comedy, which is one of the most difficult things you can, you know, put your hands on. And they see that experiment and see that if art was created out of this. Let me put it this way, there was no art to be seen. It was a huge flop, It was a very demanding show for the ensemble. We danced and danced and sang and sang. And it was crazy. We had injuries and things like that, but it was so little audience. It was such a dreadful thing to know that all the energy we put in was for nothing. That was very, very hard. That was also a lesson to learn this whole project. And the cast who worked, the 6 of us who wasn't, we still laugh at this experience. It was crazy.
But, you know, I've been in a few shows, or I've had a few experiences like that as well. I was in a show in Germany called Tenuritas, which was basically, I mean, the idea was great. And it was supposed to be like 10 different women, like from different genres, like different ages, you know, and they wanted to put together a show with these 10 women and make it into it was playing in a big circus tent. It was like a dinner show, but we didn't serve.
Mm.
So but it was like in this huge tent in Hamburg, and then we moved to Berlin for a while, and we were also out on Sylt, the island.
Was
Uh,
it a little bit like Nine, the musical?
no, because there was no
No.
men involved. uh,
Yeah.
but the thing was, I mean, the whole idea sounded like a super fun project, right?
Mm.
But the problem was that the whole creative team were middle-aged men. So the way they picked the songs, the way they put the show together, like, you know, when you're going to do something like that, it's a very fine line between it becoming sort of sexist and weird and becoming fantastic. And
Get it.
and we I felt like, and I think all of us felt like they missed the target.
Mm.
And like the whole marketing material was very like sexy, you know, like the pictures they put out, they weren't even of us, they were of, you know, like these leggy Las Vegas dancers with like feathers on their head and stuff like that. But then on stage it was like everything between German rock to, you know, one girl reading, you know, super difficult, deep German poetry. To, like, it was so weird. So when it, like the audience came and they sort of, I think they expected something completely different than what they actually got.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this huge flop. And you know, to have that feeling that you really don't want to go out on stage because you know the audience is probably going to hate it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. And you
Yeah,
still have to do it every night because that's what you get paid to do.
I
It's
know.
terrible,
I
but
know.
it's a really, really great lesson in a way.
It is. Yeah, it that is, and also, I mean, for you then, just you pointing out so many things that you then you have the production team. Maybe there should have been, you know, women in the production team.
You think?
Maybe should, you know, so it's not so you don't have a miscommunication of, you know, what you're doing, and so it doesn't become sexist and all of those things. You know, some things can be lost in translation. That's how
Mm.
it is between male and female
It was
and
just a weird experience. That's all I can
yeah,
say about it. Again, I think the idea um, as an idea was really cool, but they didn't execute it
yeah,
well. But anyway, so then I know that you went to Spain to do the
Garbos,
Garbos.
yeah,
Um,
Garbos.
yeah, at on Gran Canaria. So how did that? Were you there from when they started that? Because that's
No,
like a Wallmans situation.
well, it was. I ended up. You see, this is so funny. I ended up choreographing the musical Oklahoma
Oh,
in Operan.
oh my God! I auditioned for that, and I
Did
almost
you?
got it. And I don't know why I didn't. Why didn't I get it? I was
I
awesome.
don't. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the German accent. No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, this is so funny because there was a guy, a friend of mine, Hans. He was in the musical Chicago in Gothenburg,
Mm,
or was going to be, and he also choreographed Cabaret Lorensberg in
okay.
Gothenburg, which is a dinner theater.
Mm,
And he had done Showboat, I think, at Operan the year before. And they asked him to do again, but then he's like, I'm going to do Chicago. At that point, you know, when it was brand new, that, you know, the modernized version with
mm.
Anne Rankin production. And then he had Cabaret Lonsberg and said, I can't do Oklahoma. So he asked, can you do it? And then I said, no, I can't. I know the musical, and there's so much choreography in it. It's crazy. And the first act ends with this long dream ballet that goes on forever. No words, just ballet, right? Or just dance. Anyway, so I said no, 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 and then they say, but can you at least help us hold the audition? Okay, I'll do the audition combination. As I did one female and one male, and then I held that, and I was as new of this with as everybody else there. And then I thought it was so fun. So in a weak spot, they asked me, "So do you want to do it?" And I said yes, because I love doing the audition. And then I ended up choreographing the whole thing. And then it became quite a big success in Säffle. And then it was asked to move to Vasateatern in Stockholm.
Oh.
So we did a bigger cast. I hired more dancers and things like that. And that it was a whole different project in itself. And when we was doing that, and it was kind of turbulent because again, you have to have a really good producers, all of that, where are people going to live and when you move so many people around. So I was quite tired. And then this guy called Anders Butta Börjesson, he had opened Garbo's in Gran Canaria 2 years before, I think. And he had so much work in Sweden, and he knew on me because I think I had helped him hold auditions at Cabaret Lorensberg before, something like that. So he called me and said, I need someone to go down to Spain for 3 months and take care of the cast there, because it's a little bit, they have a little bit of a confrontation. There was something wrong there going on. So he needed someone to come down and take care of the show. And I said, for 3 months, and I was quite tired of the whole Oklahoma thing, but I was like, holiday, why not? And I went down there and flew down there the day after we opened in Stockholm, and I stayed for 5 years.
Wow.
That was also good. You see, again, what was, you get down there, right? And you start to work and you like it and like the lifestyle and all of that. And I think that's also why you work abroad, because you want to experience other things than just theater. But the thing is, and I ended up in a very fortunate situation where there was a theater where I could do whatever I wanted. See? So I created a lot of crap, but it was situations that way, and lots of tourists and from all over the world, and people go, they don't have maybe so high expectations when they were in Gran Canaria, and there's also alcohol and things like that, right? So, but the thing is, for me to be able to create something that, I think the theater takes like 250, 300 guests, that has opened 5 days a week, the entire year, and you need to look at what you created, and again and again and again, and that practice makes master. It does. And then the next year you do the same thing, and of course it costs a lot to create shows, so you can't just, I don't like this, I have to change this now, blah, blah. And the only thing you can actually change is like to redirect. You can't change costumes and blah, 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 but you can say, try this instead, do this, right? So when you're done, I did 6 shows there, lived there for 5 years, but did 6 shows. And that was the best school for me. To be able to be crap over and over and over again, it's the best school ever. It's much harder to, for example, this is your first time producing something, say, at Kina Teatern in Stockholm, then you get 1 shot. Yeah. And if you don't nail it, you're out, right? But so you don't have any chance to practice, right, basically. But so I ended up in a very good, and then I got Wallmans in Copenhagen. They called me, and I was then tired of the tourist industry and believe it or not, the palm trees and the nice weather, and want to come home to something real, and ended up at Wallmans in Copenhagen, and that was 2005. And again, I landed on my feet and ended up in a situation where I was allowed to do whatever I wanted, and with a much bigger budget and much bigger cast. And I was introduced to circus artists, and suddenly I could work with dancers who are educated, who only, only profession is dancing, and work with singers which only profession is singing. And, so I could like learn more and upgrade my knowledge more and do that. So I've done that since 2005 and been really, really blessed. I'm so happy that I got that chance in a huge circus building in the middle of Copenhagen. It's crazy how many people get that opportunity. Hi, do whatever you want in here. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is really crazy. And I've seen at least one of the shows that you've done in there, and it was spectacular. So one of the questions that I get a lot, sitting on the other side of the table nowadays, is what you look for at auditions when people come into audition. So I really want to discuss this with you, because I know that, I mean, you've obviously sat behind the table loads more times than I have.
Too many times.
Because you recast once a year, right?
Yes.
And obviously, again, it's the whole puzzle, and sometimes people stay on for another year, etc. And so you never know exactly which spot is open, maybe when you come to audition. But is there anything in particular that you are looking for when people come through the door? Because one of the things that, I hear from young performers is that, last year I was really close to getting something at Wallmans and I didn't get it. But I'm going to go this year again, and hopefully I'll get it this year. So will you, do you remember people and want to see them again? Or do you start over when you come for your second or third or fourth audition? Or, just tell me a little bit about your thought process.
Let's talk about auditions. It's crazy. Okay. This is how it works for me. Since the Corona effect, right? So because I'm gonna then backtrack it. So you say this is suddenly new for me because I'm now doing the same show for the third season. I have never done that because I always create new shows.
Right.
Total everything, every season. That's my talent, I would say. That's my pulse, my heart to be a creative person. So, right. So it's like, so when people say, you're supposed to do this one more year, I go, because that's not creativity. Then I just go, what? But, then my creative muscle, as Franco Dragone, who was one of the founders of Cirque du Soleil, he said, creativity is a muscle. You need to work with it. And I think that's how it is. So I get panicked a little bit. So this year I will or last season too was like, then suddenly I have like a musical. I have people who stop. So I need to find people to fit into a role, a certain, key, I need a rock singer now. And I haven't had, usually I create a show around the artist that I found.
Right.
So that is so suddenly this season is more of a musical theater casting style. But we'll go back to that and we can talk about what happens then. But usually I have an idea of a show. We have like usually 10 numbers. That varies from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Different themes and different genres and different, to try to, so you don't sit and, see the same thing over and over again. So try not to do the same thing twice. But so I have like half of the show kind of made, sketched out, and then I have an audition. Number one is personality for me. Unique voice ID. I use that that word a lot, voice ID, or if it's 2 words. because why would I, I usually say to the kids, if I may say that, like, why try to sound like Celine Dion when there is already one Celine Dion,
Right.
And she has, dedicated her life to be the best Celine Dion she can possibly be. So my advice is, you need to look at yourself and be the best you can possibly be, because that's in showbiz. To be unique in showbiz is the way forward. To not be unique is just bad. That will not get you the job. So for me, personality, energy, of course. This is so stupid advice, because I know once you get there, I've been standing on stage, and I've been to a lot of auditions. We know that how difficult it is to, do a good performance. But what I usually say, because it's a really weird situation when there's like 5 people sitting looking at you in a very not so glamorous room going, okay, show me, I try to say, don't do an audition, talking mentally. Don't go into audition mode. Go in and perform like you would. So, because audition mode for me is, you try to figure out what the jury is thinking.
Right.
What do they want? And then you try to adapt to that. And that makes you totally weird. Your performance will become weird when you try to please an audience that you don't know what they want from you. That is just treacherous. Don't go in there, be confident, and think, I'm here because I'm me. And for what I can present, my product.
I think that's really, really good advice, because I feel like I've gotten stuck in that trap several times myself, especially when I was younger, and it doesn't help you at all. It's the same thing, if you go on stage in front of a huge audience and you're going to try to please everyone in that room. It's never going to happen. You have to go in.
Never gonna happen.
Right. So you have to go in and do your thing. And I think, I think that's one of the successes of From Broadway to Duvemåla, for example, or your show, where you have very different people, because then the show as a whole can appeal to a lot of people. Every singer, like, one of the things that we do with the show, and I've said this before, is that after the show, we go out and we meet the audience and have like a meet and greet when we sign albums or take pictures, etc. And it's really interesting, because every time, people will come up to me and like, oh, I thought you were the best singer. But then, like, there will come people to Laila Adele and say, oh, I thought you were the best singer. Or to Malena, or to whoever. We all get people who come to each of us and tell us that I thought you were the best. And it's a great compliment, don't get me wrong. But, someone will always like what you do if you do it well. So just,
True. And also part of the success with the concept, your concept or the Wallmans concept and so on, is that since it's not character cast, it's personality cast, so to speak, that appeal to, when audience can see themselves in performers, that's, the best success you can have, and that's part of, the success you have, because you have great personalities on stage who are hugely talented, and then in all shapes and forms. And people in the audience are also all shapes and forms and personalities, and then will see, I like you, you tickle my fancy, right? No, so that's that's one of the things when it comes to audition, I would say. And then do your homework also. So when you go to musical school and when you go to education, and there's and I'm not going to stick my chin out here, and because they usually have audition classes, and then the teacher says, the audition teacher says, you cannot look at the jury, you can only look over their heads. That teacher is full of crap. You heard it from me. That is so wrong. It's also true, but it depends on what job you are looking for and what audition you are going to. So, for example, like, are you in a musical which the fourth wall is down, which means that the audience is only looking in? You are not looking at the audience. You are not communicating with the audience. You are only almost like a movie. The audience are just watching you. Then it's good to maybe not look at the jury, because that's not what they want, to have the feeling of just looking at you. It's really, for example, one of those musicals is, since you said Christina from Dumola, right?
Yeah.
It's really weird if you sing Du måste finnas and look at the audience member, because then suddenly, right, that's totally weird. So you can't.
Yeah, or Phantom.
So
Phantom is one of those shows, right?
That is correct. So that is how you do that audition. Don't look at the jury. Quite fine, right? But if you do, say, the producers, which is a little bit tricky, because in the producers it's about a musical which has a show in the musical, and in that musical they work with the audience.
Right.
Then you need to know, what song are you auditioning with? Is that a song which is the fourth wall down, or is that one of the songs where you're actually taking in the audience? Then you know what to do, right? When you then go for audition for Wallmans, we would like to know what it feels like being an audience member looking at you on stage. When you look at us, do you have lovely eyes? How is your smile? Because if you look like this when you're singing, you know, if you have a weird expression, then we go, maybe you're not for us, because that is strange, or you have a low energy, or whatever, what it is, right? So that's it all. So you need, so audition is, do your homework, and what are you auditioning for? It's like as stupid as a white person going to audition for Once on This Island. And now the younger kids who is maybe looking, thinking, what is Once on This Island? Look it up and you will understand why it's weird, because you will not get that job. So do your homework. And the same thing with now we ended up with, I spoke to a choreographer and we talked about audition, and now we're sitting in a situation where we have to cast people through video. And dancers, or, you know, this, or all-rounders, they send in a video where they dance, right?
Right.
Again, so if you are auditioning for the musical, say, Grease, that everybody knows, would you think it would be a good idea to send in a video when you're dancing modern dancing?
No.
No. It might be a good idea if you do your research, say, Grease, wait a minute, who is producing it, who is directing it, and who is choreographing? Oh, it's this Johan Espeland who's choreographing it, and he is this modern dancer who's, you know, dancing around with flower pots on his head all the time. Maybe then you send me a video with modern dancing.
Right.
But if you go, you know, let the choreographer is Victoria TOCCA, and she is this classic, she's doing the original kind of production. She's not wearing so much from the original, you know, you would have the Grease lightning, no, like that. Maybe then the wrong thing to send is, you know, a modern piece. Then you may go to, okay, what is the style of Grease, right?
Right.
And then, of course, show your personality and your technique, because who wants a dancer without good technique? Well, you know, and the same thing, who would hire a singer who can't sing on pitch? I'm just saying. So that is, then when go back to, and even, you know, when you do, I would say, a video audition or a live audition, make an effort, you know, show that you want a job. Don't put, I'm just going to go into the dance room now, and with my old dancing clothes and blah blah blah, and I don't really care, and I got to do this choreography. Maybe you should fix your hair and have put your nicest dancing outfit on or whatever, right? So you show that this is interesting for me. I really would like this job. And the same thing when you go to live audition, show that you made an effort. You don't have it. We're not in America here, so you don't have to go over the top, but just show that you made, a little bit of, I would really like this job. And basically it. And one of my tips is also, if it's winter or summer, but usually winter, bring inside shoes.
Oh.
Say, you especially if you have times we are in audition in a little room, which is not a stage and is really weird, but still, right? But there's something about, in my head, it is not a deal breaker. But anyway, but at Wallmans, we usually have the auditions on stage. So we sit down and we see your feet and everything, right?
Right.
So say you come and audition for us and you have, like today, you have a lovely fixed your hair and makeup and blah, blah, blah. And then you have snow boots on.
Yeah.
That's really just like, why couldn't you have just have, some nice high heels or whatever? So you have inside shoes with you in a bag. So when you come to the theater, you just change. So you have the whole ensemble. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Good
Guys.
Advice, I think. Because sometimes, that's probably something you wouldn't think about.
We can literally have like 2 hours, 3 hours of, go into how would you make an audition for that musical, and how would you do this and how would you do that. But I think then it's usually then you go into interpretation and how would you look at the material you work with and so on, right?
Right.
And to finish that, I think that in my book, so the audition talk is that if the jury nasty or negative or have an attitude, my book, the amateurs. Jury should never ever be nasty and negative, because they are put in an ad and said, hi, we're looking for people who want to work with us. Would you take some time and money to come and apply for this job, please? Because if nobody is applying for the job, they will not be able to do the show. That's how it is, right?
Right.
So a little bit of humbleness, and be show gratitude. Say, oh, you've been flying from Stockholm, flight tickets. You maybe bought a new dress, la 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 la, and be appreciative for the bloody 5 minutes that's poor artist is standing there. Then the jury better be nice and smiling and say hello and say goodbye. And we're like, if they don't, they're amateurs.
Do you have time ever to give feedback to the people who audition for you? I mean, is there any, because I know that sometimes, or most of the time, to be quite honest, you don't have that time, but I try to make an effort, especially with the people who have maybe gone through to the next round or so, to give them some feedback. But I don't know, how do you ever give any feedback, or is it just like, okay, well, we'll see next year? Or if there is someone, say there's someone you liked a lot at the audition, but they didn't get the job, would you ever tell them like why they didn't get the job, or say something like, oh, next time maybe you should bring this kind of song? I have so many questions, but let's stay with that one for a second.
Okay, I'll go back because it's about time, right? It is about the time we sit as producers. Wallmans can have up to 1,000 applicants. There's a reason why a CV looks like a CV. This is about time, right? Don't write your memoirs. I need to be able to go. Now we look at the computer, but I need, or my team need to go like, basically you can imagine 1,000 CVs in a stack and you go, yes, no, yes. I will not go, dear Mr. Espeland, blah, 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 year of work. No, not happening. So that is why.
Okay, so wait, stop here. So
Yeah.
when you get a CV,
Yes.
what would make you say yes versus no, for example? What are you looking for at the CV?
A good, it's like, who is this person? That's a good picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Usually you can't compare. If you're good, you have like now we're talking Scandinavia. You have to be aware it might be different in on Broadway, West End, because that's how it works, life. But usually your CV with a little face shot, but maybe a on the back side, because the trick is little papers as possible, but where you show your body. It's like, this is me, all right? It doesn't have to be in nudes or anything like that, but just like, this is me when you full figure, basically. And then all the things, when you're born, don't put your last personal number, your fourth. Some people do that. Your last four numbers, don't, because why would you? So just put when you're born and then how tall you are, So it makes me get a feeling of you. And then your education and what you've done. That's it.
Okay, but it's like, I'm assuming, say you get 1,000 CVs sent in. I'm assuming that, at least say 80% of them have some sort of education, and like, I mean, some are just like people who are trying anyway, and maybe they go into the no pile, but you would still end up, if that's the only thing you're looking at, then you would still end up with, say, like 800 people in the yes pile. So what would make you go like?
But you add on, is like, do you play instruments? Do you people have like educations? Like they have, more. It's not only like they have only done one thing. So you need to write. And then if you, I mean, that's a hard thing. And when you're beginner in this, in showbiz, is that your CV is not that long, but you need to at least write what you've done anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
but
that's
would you look
like
at someone who have just, say, finished Balettakademien and doesn't have anything on their CV other than like the school productions they've done, for example?
What we do there, what we have done, started a couple of years ago, because we and you and I have also gone through a school like that, and performing arts school and bass. And what happens is, it's very hard for the teachers to produce individuals, because there's no time. You can't put there. So it's, it's a little bit of a frame factory. People kind of have become the same after 3 years, right?
Right.
And it becomes very, for us, we realized that it was quite straining time-wise and concentration-wise, when the entire ballet academy came, and then performing arts school, and then bass. There's so many students that we were, this is hard. So we have actually started to go, the little team, the small part of the audition team has actually traveled. So we have now gone to the schools and looked at the students, and then said, we would like to see you two at the auditions.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of pre-auditions. So that's how we done it.
Okay.
Because you can't, we used to, I mean, it's still hard work, but it gives us to see the students, or the artists, I would like to say, in a environment that they're relaxed. Right. Because I don't think we benefit from anything that people are so nervous that they, this and that. It's like, what do that person look like when they are the most relaxed, right?
Right.
And then we usually, then the next day we go somewhere else, so it's not all on the same day. And we used to have in Wallmans, we used to have like 5 days in Stockholm, 6 days in Stockholm, 4 days in Oslo, 3 days in Copenhagen. We were knackered. So then we do that instead. And sometimes I even can, and I usually, this year I did, but I usually send out, you know, part of my team. I'm not looking. So they pick from the schools, and then I sit in on, you know, the bigger auditions or even the callback.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say that is how we do it. But you need to put down what you've done before the Ballet Academy, before that, so we can see this is what my CV looks like, because you can't fake it. I mean, this is who you are at the moment. This is the knowledge you have, what you expect when you're like around your 20 years old. Like, yeah. So that's that when it came to CVs, right? We why did I backtrack to the CV? What was the original question? We spoke about.
We talked about like how you, like when you have 1,000 CVs, what makes you put a CV in a yes pile rather than a no pile, for example.
Yeah, and so that's how quick it goes. You know, you sit and go, yes, you know, maybe put that in the maybe pile, but take back the maybe pile and go, need to look at that too. Maybe go on, does that person have a page? Do they, you know, are they things on YouTube, and things like that? What we've done now, we haven't, I mean, but we've started many years ago, and we built our own website, which is called wallmansaudition.com, which we open first Monday in December every year. And then you fill in things, and you can add your CV, but you could also add, we ask you to add your dance clips, your singing clips, blah, blah, blah. So we get even more out of that, right? So get more information out of people. Because we don't want to waste people's time, right? So that's that.
And I think that's a really important thing, because we've started the Nordic Musical Club on Clubhouse.
Yes. I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm just
no, which is a really fun new social media. If you haven't tried it, and you're into musical theater in Scandinavia, you should definitely check out the Nordic Musical Club on Clubhouse. Because we are several producers and people in this business who started the Nordic Musical Club, where we discuss different topics, and a very reoccurring topic is obviously auditions, because we are the people that you will meet when you come to an audition. And one of the things that people need to understand is that auditions are very costly for us as producers. We have to rent a space, we have to take time out of our schedules, we have to pay the people who are sitting in the jury, you know, whether it's a director, a choreographer, all those people, we have to pay for their time, which means I cannot hold an open audition for 1,000 people just because people need audition experience. I get it, you need your audition experience, but I don't have the money for it. So, I mean, that's just reality. So what I've done, even before COVID, is that I usually either ask people to send a video, or I will start looking at their social media or try to find something where I can go, you know, yes or no. Do I want to bring them into the audition? Because again, this is not only about my time and money, it's about your time and money as well. You know, exactly what you said. Do I want to make this person buy a ticket from Stockholm to Copenhagen, possibly pay for a hotel? It's a lot of money. And I know already before he or she is coming that this is not right this time. No, then we're saving ourselves time and money. I'm saving you time and money. But I also, if I see people that are like, because usually, you know, I have shows or productions in mind for several years ahead. So if I see something, it's like, oh, it's not right for this audition, but she could be great for this show in 2 years from now, I will put her in that pile, so that I don't forget to at least contact that person when we get there. Do you do stuff
And
like that as well? Maybe it's different when you can create your own shows like you were talking about.
no, we save, but there's also, you know, GDPR and all of that. I mean,
Right.
so there's a lot of, you can't save too much and you have to. But I think we were talking, the reason why we came to CVs was that because about time. And we spoke about, do you give feedback? And the thing
Right.
is, I don't give feedback.
Mm.
Going back to if you are happy with your audition, I made a good performance. Good. Like you do when you perform. This was a good audition. I did a good performance. Meet a friend, have a cup of coffee, stop thinking about audition, because you are no mind reader. You don't know what we are thinking, right? So stop this bull thing with, well, I think she's going to get it. I think he's going to get it, blah, 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 because you're just guessing. You don't know if I'm looking for a redhead or a blonde, or, you know, you don't know what I'm looking for, a rock singer or a classical singer. You don't. So that's that. And I think also it's up to us as when we're casting, that we have to be very clear what we're looking for. So of course Wallmans is a little bit, because we look for, it's like talent, what can we find that is unique, that we can do something around. But if a jury wants something special, they need to ask. And I think that's also, it's like so you know, so if I sit there and see an audition, I can ask them if I feel I need to get the grasp of their personality more. Do you have another song with you? Can you sing that song that you have now more happy, more sad, lying down? That is my job, to try to get out of you what I want to see. Can you come back next week with these 5 songs, whatever? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's my job.
Yeah.
So I think then it explains itself that if you don't get the job, it's because you weren't what I needed at the moment. You know, that's basically it. Or if
I think what you just said, that you were not what I needed at this moment, it doesn't mean we're bad. It doesn't mean it. You probably doesn't mean anything. It's just that right now you were not the right fit in this puzzle. I needed a blue piece and you were yellow. You know what I mean? Or like you were square and I needed a round piece for this puzzle to work. So it really doesn't have anything to do with you usually.
No, and I think that, I mean, you know it in your head if you did a good performance. If you sang off pitch the whole entire time, well, you know, that's the reason. That was not a good performance. If you sang one note off pitch, that is not a deal breaker. Come on, how many shows have you gone and seen that people are singing perfectly for 2 hours? If you can't do the dance audition, if it's too difficult for you, if you don't have the technique, there's a little bit of luck here. If you don't have the technique, if you can't do it, that's the reason, and you will feel that on the audition. I can't do this, you know. So it's quite easy. So you need to also look at yourself and go, did I do a good performance? Did I not? Okay, if you didn't do a good performance, if you fell, deal breaker. If you messed up a step, that is not a deal breaker. It's like, if you can't do the style, if you can't do the combo, that's a deal breaker. Then you made him go home and practice, because you're not good enough, or you don't have the technique that we need for this particular production.
Right.
So I think it's self, you know, it's kind of look at yourself and you will get the answer. And no, I will not sit and give feedback to 1,000 people.
No, obviously not. But what I'm saying is that, like, sometimes, like, I will take the time sometimes if it's someone that I've seen where I feel like this person, he or she has something that I'm interested in, but this was not the right show. I feel like, because I've been on that side myself, that I want to maybe encourage that person, especially if it's a younger performer, and say, hey, you know, I like you. I looked at you. I saw you. This is not what I need right now. But just so you know, I really do want to see you again. Because it's really difficult, especially in the Nordic Scandinavian countries where we have like best case scenario, a couple of auditions a year to go to. And then you get your 3 no's. And then you're like, oh shit, now I have nothing for the next 6 months. And so I don't know.
Well,
I just feel like
I
sometimes I do want to give that feedback. Obviously not to 1,000 people because you don't have that time. But I mean, does it happen that you do it, or are you just like, no, they'll
no,
have to figure it out?
no, I see. I grab people, or we grab people that are interesting for us when we go, okay, like I use your name then, or Victoria. You know, I can't, you know, I give you a call, I can go to, you know, you are perfect for us, but this season we can't. So
Right.
can we keep in touch? Da 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 da. For example, right?
Yeah.
I will do that. But that is a different matter than why didn't I get the job?
Yeah, obviously.
Well,
yeah.
I was like, that I will not answer because, and then to just on a personal, whatever it's called, my brain don't remember people.
Okay.
I've seen, this is senile dementia, early senile dementia. My friend Minette, her brain is a computer brain. She can go, do you remember that girl 7 years ago, auditioned in Oslo in the afternoon, sang, you will always love me, or whatever that song called, you know, blah, blah, blah. She can say that, and I go, and then I would go, that is not my brain. I basically watch auditions, write who I think is interesting. We also record it, film it. And then we go, no, yes, blah, 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 blah. Then I have it on a video and I go back and watch it and remind myself, da, da, da. And when audition, and then I cast. And when the audition is done, I will forget it. It's gone. And I'm not honestly being rude, obnoxious. I'm really grateful that so many people audition for us. But it's my brain. I can't remember people. So I'm like, so I auditioned for you 5 times. Sorry, I can't. And I don't know why that is. My brain has just learned to go, throw that away.
Yeah.
No, it is a lot of information to to in, and it's also depending on what kind of jury member you are. But I would say it's hard work because I feel that all of that work. You know, they've been flying, they've been paying hotel, la la la. They've been recording a video, all of that, and they come to Copenhagen or Oslo or Stockholm and get in and have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Then I need to be there. On my face, this is my performance. I need to show I'm here for you.
Right.
Because it's the same thing as, normal people applying for a normal job, coming in to have an interview, you put your suit on and sit down and have an interview, right?
Yeah.
Then it's the same thing. Would you really like to work with a place when the guy interviewing you is an idiot and being rude and blah, 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 and it's like, why did I put on this and come to this interview and would you like to work for that company when you have that attitude? No, this is not a company I would like to work with. Same thing for us, so we need to be there. Hello, blah, blah, blah. Give energy. How fabulous that you are here. And doing that for many days,
it's exhausting.
You're dead. It's exhausting. And so I think sometimes my brain is more focused on trying to pleasure the people being on stage than actually taking in what's going on, right?
Right. So, and that's probably why video is a really, really good idea. It's really different also depending on where you go. But I think a couple of things that I want to just sort of pinpoint from our discussion today, and that you said that were really, really good, is that first of all, don't try to be anything. Just go in and perform and do a really good performance, and make an effort. Do your hair, put makeup on, put something nice on, just show that you're interested in the job. And if it's the winter season, really good point, bring another pair of shoes with you so that you actually have, indoor shoes and look like, I think that goes under the show them that you've made an effort part.
Yeah.
And do your homework. I think that is probably the most important part. Do your homework. And it's not only about the style of music they want you to sing or bringing the right song, which I know people panic about all the time, or it doesn't matter if your dress is green or pink or blue, but try to, show that you made an effort, and wear something where you feel pretty and comfortable. But a big part of your homework is to actually look up who you're auditioning for. Who is the producer? Who is the choreographer? Who is the director? What have they done before? Those are some really, really important points, I think. And I'm super grateful that you wanted to be part of TOCCA Talks today.
Lovely. And I would like to say, thank you for having me. And I would like to finish with, I have 3 things that I usually say when I speak to students and things like that. So remember them now. It's, of course, be yourself. Everybody else is taken. That's one. What you practice, you become good at. Because people think that to become a good singer and become a dancer, that my friend Albany says, we can tell when someone has big muscles that they have been at the fitness and gym and worked really, really hard. Why don't they understand that the same thing with singing? It takes the same amount to get big muscles. Do you know what I mean? That's the whole thing. So they think that, why do I have to do that? Or practice an audition song the day before you go to audition. That's not how it works. You need to, what you practice, you become good at, and it takes hours and hours and hours. And what is the most important job in the world? And I usually get a lot of different answers. And the answer is the job that makes you happy. So if showbiz is not making you happy, choose another profession, because you will never be able to put in the hours that is needed if it doesn't make you happy. That's the whole thing. If it's a constant struggle, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do for you. Choose something that makes you shine up and happy, because then you're able to put those 24 hours a day in, right? Yeah. So choose happiness. Choose what makes you happy.
That's amazing. Great advice from Johan Espeland, Artistic Director of Wallmans Group. Thank you so much for talking to me and spreading your wisdom to the world. I can't wait to see you soon and talk to you again. And thank you for being part of TOCCA Talks. You all know what to do: like, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff. That's how we get this social media thing going. So thank you.